episode 15 of the TV Autopsy, slicing its way through the series you love. My name is James.
My name is Deborah.
And I am Megan.
Oh, hey guys, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Happy summer. Well, summer's over.
Summer is over.
Officially autumn and it's dark. We are recording just after 7 o'clock and it's dark, is it? So, wow.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
not round here, it's not.
Oh, is it not? Is it still light outside? Oh my goodness me.
Wait a minute, but you're further south. So how are you?
Further west. Further west.
Sunsets in the west.
It's about half an hour later.
Wow. We'll make the most of that.
On this podcast.
Yes.
Indoors
Right.
recording.
So, gosh, we've all, as ever, been busy, but here we are.
We are. It's been a
Anyone
couple of
got
months.
any news?
Actually.
Well, there's a few bits and pieces happening in the television world at the moment.
Pray tell, because I need some inspiration.
Right. So my first bit of news is Ryan Reynolds' documentary about him and Rob McElhenney buying Wrexham Football Club has landed.
I've heard about this, yes.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I know you're going to ask me where I found it, and I can't remember where I found it. So I might need to do a quick Googling, but it's such a good little watch.
I'll Google.
Yeah, because I really rather like Ryan Reynolds. And poor old Rob McElhenney just gets it. He's always called the other one. So there was a whole chunk of them that I think dropped quite quickly, and then they're releasing. There's another one that's now been released that I haven't seen. So it's an ongoing thing, and it's really, really interesting. And it's lovely. So I thoroughly recommend going and having a little look at that.
So it's coming to Disney Plus apparently.
That's it.
So they've taken over like quite a small football club, haven't they? And they've invested in it and all this kind of stuff. And it's quite a heartwarming tale, really. And I wonder if it's, I don't really know much about football, but I wonder if it's going to start a trend of kind of celebrities getting involved in small clubs, because
I don't know, watching the documentary I think they're going to put everybody off thoroughly. They're kind of like, they're quite open about the fact that it's absolutely a mental decision that they took, and that but it's lovely. It is a lovely story, certainly.
And are they buying it with their own money, or wow.
And obviously with football, it's quite dependent on money, isn't it? If you've got a lot of money, you can buy new players, and if you buy new players, then you improve.
Yeah, and it seems that the club has been sort of like very badly financially mismanaged in quite a deliberate and some might say criminal way historically, and it's one of the oldest football clubs in the country. And so anyway, I would thoroughly recommend tuning in and having a little bit of a dabble in there.
Does he know anything about football?
No, not really. No,
nothing.
They don't.
About soccer? Wow.
They do call it football. They are very good at call it football.
All right. Okay. So I suppose the news that I'm going to talk about is probably not news to anybody, but it was very sad to hear about the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And
we probably should have led with that, hey?
Well, I think we are past our official mourning period and stuff, but obviously it dominated TV for those 9 days or however long it was.
It really did.
I didn't watch any of it, I have to say.
Whoa!
I didn't watch a thing of it.
5.1 billion people on this planet apparently tuned in. That's 63% of the planet.
I always go against the grain, usually.
You are one of them.
Wow.
So my question is, did you watch anything going up to it? Did you watch any of the live stream from the
BC?
From when she was lying in state? And did you watch the funeral?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
okay.
There was something quite fascinating about, and I turned the telly on at about 12:30 on Saturday night, and just started watching the cues. I just found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Just seeing what they did, whether they bowed, whether they curtsied, whether they felt like they needed to rush along quickly because somebody else was behind them, you know. Yeah.
Whether they wanted to just jump the queue like Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby.
Oh,
controversial.
Did they?
Right. I mean, some people, I do agree that some people should have been able to jump the queue. I do believe if you're an ex-Prime Minister, I think it's fair enough that you should have to queue up. But
I kind of figure, though, that we live in a society where status is like just people who have status get to jump things. And the point is that even this morning has come out, made a statement to say that they were there in an official reporting capacity. Yeah. And I kind of like feel that had David Beckham not queued up with the common folk, I don't think it would have been an issue. But because
Susanna Reid, though, as well, who is in the same capacity as Holly and Phil, she sits and does GMTV of a morning, so she does the same job, probably more so because she does more news stuff in a more journalistic manner. But she won't.
I mean, it kind of like I'm absolutely gobsmacked that it's caused the furore that it has.
Yeah, it's a bit
feels a bit unfair because I am basically just very much a little bit in love with Holly Willoughby. I do absolutely love her. I feel she's being hard done by.
Well, I don't know. I think people should have queued really, but so let's get on to the funeral itself. Was it worth watching? Was it good?
Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, it went on for a long time because after Westminster Abbey, then they went off to Windsor.
Yeah,
and they had another service.
It was a good 7 hours coverage.
But I mean, it was terrific. I mean, they certainly knew how to do it. Really, all the pomp, the circumstance,
exactly.
The music was just incredible, and I just kept crying every time the music came on, and the bagpipes just kept flooring me. It was just.
See, I'm not a royalist, but it's such a massive occasion that I did watch it, and I took the dogs out in the morning and I made sure that I was back for the 11 o'clock kickoff, so to speak. And so I sat down to watch it thinking, I'll watch the main bit. And then I was transfixed all day, basically. I barely moved.
Completely flawless. Like, so smooth. Military position, military operation. Nobody put a foot wrong.
Oh, well, except for Harry not singing the national anthem. Was that a problem?
There was a few people that didn't.
Right. I know, but I suppose he was the main one. If you were going to focus on anybody, it might have been him. Well, maybe he didn't know the words.
They did sing the second verse. I don't think anyone knows the second verse.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think people kids were really good. The two kids were amazing, age 7 and 9.
Which kids are these now? I can't keep up.
So this is George.
George. The Royal Family, the Next Generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were.
Can't wait for that show.
They were amazing. Really well behaved. Brilliant. Sienna's the same age as Charlotte. There's absolutely no way that still for more than 2 minutes.
I know, but I'm just imagining.
Should have been asking for chicken nuggets.
Should have been great for the cameras, though. Little superstar she is. Right. All right. So, okay. So yeah.
We do know how to put on a bloody good parade.
Totally. I think we did our country proud. The world watching that it's just fabulous. My mum was in Spain, and she's not a royalist, but she has a lot of respect for the royal family, and she's been here 40 years, and so she knew she was pregnant at the same time that Diana was with William and all that sort of stuff. So she knows the royal family here than she does over there. And she was in pieces with it. She said, nobody does the music, the hymns like the Church of England.
Okay, all right then. So there we go. So join us soon for the coverage of the coronation, I imagine, next summer, I think.
Oh God, they're going to drag that out, aren't they?
Yeah.
June.
It's not going to be another 70 years until we see a state funeral.
No, exactly, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Jesus. Right. All right. So, any other news before we carry on?
TV news, just also to flag Handmaid's Tale season 5 landing.
When?
No, I want to say imminent, not sure. Has it already landed? I really should research my news a little bit more, shouldn't I?
Okay.
I'm sure I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's...
Think of me as not the BBC. I'm a bit more like Sky. I'll come out with the headline having not validated all my facts.
All right. Okay, well, I think if that's it for news, we will move on to Cutting Edge.
We're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
Okay, so this is a series we've been watching that we kind of want to recommend. Now, we know there's a lot of TV out there at the moment, and we want to talk about Game of Thrones, but we're going to do that at the end. So
House of Dragon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, sorry, House of the Dragon. So if you are interested in our spoiler-filled reviews of that, then, join us after the credits where we will be looking into that. I'm just going to kick off very quickly with something that I've been doing, and I've been starting a rewatch really. And I'm only kind of halfway through, but for those of you who don't know, it's Jodie Whittaker's final outing as the 13th Doctor in Doctor Who on October. It's coinciding with the 60th anniversary of the BBC, not the 60th. What is it? The 100th centenary. It's a big centenary BBC, isn't it? In October. Did you know about this?
No.
No? Yeah. It's a big celebration.
Attention.
Big celebration to the BBC, and there's going to be lots of special shows. One of them is they're using the Doctor Who as Jodie's final outing. So I've been rewatching because I've not been very keen on this era, but I wanted to just kind of dip back into it and see if I felt the same. And to be honest, this first series, and I'm halfway through the first series, I've really enjoyed it. And I think now that I haven't got the expectation of, what's it going to be like with our female doctor, and kind of being used to the writing that happened before with Stephen Moffat and all that kind of stuff, to go in as a drama for a young generation, possibly, I think it's been quite refreshing, really. There's some really nice episodes. I mean, Rosa won an award, but that was an episode that looked at Rosa Parks, which was just brilliant. Really.
Oh, yes.
But I've enjoyed every single episode. Some of them are stronger than others, as all Doctor Who is. But
and did you like Bradley Old Walshy?
Oh, I mean, he is consistently excellent. But
yeah, I really like him.
But I've really
like him. I love him on the Chase.
I liked all the companions, and a lot, there's been a bit of criticism with there's a relationship going on more or less with Mandy Gill and the Doctor, and who's the companion, and saying, it just kind of happened, but it's laced there right from the start. I think the second or third episode, the mum, the character, Yasmin's character says, "Are you two going out with each other?" And the Doctor goes, "Are we?" And she went, "No." And, it's kind of like, that's interesting.
Implied.
Yeah. And it's so I am quite enjoying it. And regardless of what, I know people really criticise her as a doctor, and I think she's a great doctor. I think it's
liked her.
Poison chalice a lot of the time. I think you're taking a big risk and you have to be so confident. And I think she's great. And I think it's inspired a whole new generation of people to love Doctor Who. And I hope a lot of young girls as well.
Good.
So there we go.
And talking of Stephen Moffat,
mm-hmm.
Whilst I've not had any time to get into new series, Roman had to do a reading challenge over the summer and get through 6 books.
Wow.
And 2 of the books he read were Sherlock Holmes. And so I decided to introduce him to the Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman, Sherlock Holmes. So we've got through about 3 or 4 episodes of that. So that's nice to revisit.
That's excellent telly, that one.
It is. It's really good. But you know what I found quite surprising? Roman saying, it's so obvious that this is like 15 years old. I was like, how is it obvious? Because it's really smart, it's slick, it's the you're looking at London, there's no difference. And it's like, it's the phones. It's like, really? But I suppose, yeah, a couple of them are
Not
using
15 years old.
Blackberries. Yeah, I think so.
I bet it'll be getting on. The early ones will be probably getting on 15
Yeah,
years
you
old.
said you can tell that these are like late 2000s or something.
Huh?
Like, really? It's like, yeah, the phones. It's like, oh.
Yeah, the phones will always date things, I think, up until...
But they didn't look old. That's the point. I mean, they look like
to
smartphones.
you.
Yeah, everything looks young to us now,
True.
Deborah.
But I mean, Blackberries were still being used up until, only a couple of years ago, because I was still using a Blackberry for work.
Well,
you.
Yeah, we weren't. Jesus.
I've not had a Blackberry for many years.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Hillary Clinton, the Blackberry.
Yeah.
Right, Megan, cutting edge. What's your contribution?
Cutting edge. I would like to introduce you to a TV series called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window.
Oh, for goodness sake, do I have to write that down?
I was
Please do.
Is that worth it then?
I really enjoyed it.
That's
on
little
Netflix.
Kristen Bell, right?
It's Kristen Bell and Tom Riley, and it's a cracking little dark, twisty tale.
What's it called again? The Little House? No.
The woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window.
Yeah.
She's
like a drunkard, isn't she?
Yeah, she's drunk. She's an alcoholic. She's suffering from serious, losses, personal losses, and she's become alcohol dependent. And
I'm just checking. That's the woman in the house from the little girl across the window, not the little girl across the window from the woman in the house.
woman,
not the little girl. There's no little girl.
There is the woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window,
but no little girl.
Well, is there? Who knows? I'm not giving any spoilers.
So that's Netflix, because I watched the trailer for that.
Yeah, it's Netflix, and it's really worth a little punt, I would say.
All right. Is it a limited series?
Yeah, it's not very long.
Yeah, I mean,
mini
do you know
series.
what? Everyone is so concerned, and I can completely get it, about how long series are at the moment, because there's so much to watch.
I know.
And
on that note, James, I know I'm not allowed to have two, but I'm going to have two because I think Deborah doesn't have one.
Yeah.
And even if she does, I'm still having this one, which is Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Oh,
right.
Laurie has been telling me about this. Laurie's
so
saying,
good.
Like it. Yeah.
So
right.
Good.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Well, again, I was going to start watching that, and then, I haven't had time really. All right. So let's zip on to Flatliner. So this is a series we weren't keen on. Anyone got one? I've got one.
You've got
go
one.
on, Megan.
Bake Off.
Right, interesting. So
I didn't know it was back on again until
it's back on last week. Yeah.
So we've got who are our presenters? We've got Noel Fielding
and Matt
Lucas.
Matt Lucas, and he is the reason. So I have watched it religiously on BBC and Channel 4 through all of the presenters.
Yeah.
And last year, I think was Matt Lucas's first year.
Yeah.
And I got about 4 episodes in, and I hate him in it. I can't bear him. Can't watch it. And I tried again last week, and I got about halfway through the episode, and I was just like, I actually no, can't watch him in it.
What is it? Is it that he's over the top, or what?
He's not. He's really awkward and not funny. Like, and so all the contestants are I feel are like, he has to explain his jokes to them, or they're like polite laughing. It's not like when you had Mel and Sue, and you could tell they were like really friendly.
Looking after them,
So Sandy Toksvig and Noel would be the same, and Noel was the weird one, but they were all funny and nice and warm, and I just don't get that from Matt Lucas, and I can't do it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, to be honest, I lost interest when I heard Noel Fielding was coming on, because
Noel Fielding
was coming on to it, because I'm a big fan. I like Sandy Toksvig, but I also think these shows are vessels, to see people doing incredible baking and stuff like that. And yes, you have to have the comedy and the humour, which I think Mel and C did brilliantly, but it can tip the balance. And if you're using it to kind of promote your own kind of stupid humour that doesn't really complement the show, I think it just takes away from what the show is, really.
Oh, no, I like Noel Fielding. I
Noel Fielding.
I felt a bit funny with Mel Goodrick, because I think sometimes I feel that she's a little bit sappy and a bit awkward, whereas Sue, I think, is, brilliant.
Yeah. I guess each to their own. But Matt Lucas sent me over the edge. Noel sent you over the edge, James.
Yeah. And
Deborah's not so keen on Mel, so
yeah, there's one for all of us. All right, so I've got a flatliner, and it is the Netflix Marvel series She-Hulk. Now,
oh yes.
So I have always been a massive fan of the Hulk. The Hulk.
That's not Netflix, though, is it?
Spider-Man.
It's on Disney.
Sorry, on Disney Plus. So I remember the She-Hulk cartoon and used to really like it. So I was quite excited for this, and then I watched it, and it is just, I don't get it. I really don't get it. So is it
this is live action, right?
Yeah, they made this point of saying it's like a law drama, funny, and they're trying to make it a comedy, but the whole concept's weird, to the point that the She-Hulk, which we know has more control, so she doesn't lose it when she becomes the She-Hulk, but she just looks like a tall woman who's green. I mean, there doesn't seem anything special about it. It's just...
She doesn't grow any big muscles.
Yes, well, she does, but it's not like they call her a Hulk. I mean, she just looks like a very tall woman.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the storyline's dodgy. I had to start watching it because it was just in my head, and I was thinking, what is the point of the show?
I started watching it because I really like oh my goodness, what's her name? My brain's gone dead. The girl who plays Titania.
Tatiana Maslany, because she was in what's it face, right?
Yeah.
She was
great in that.
Tatiana Maslany was in Orphan Black. And she played...
No, that's not who I'm talking about. She is epic. I do love Orphan Black.
Oh, you're talking about Jamila Jamil?
Thank you, Jamila Jamil. Thank you. Gosh, my brain. And I really, really like her. And I follow her on social media, and I listen to her podcasts. And I've got a lot of... She gets persecuted quite a lot by the media. So I've got a lot of time for her. So I did tune in, but it just didn't really gel for me. I was just like, I'm not sure what it's trying to be, and I don't have the actual comic knowledge to fall back on to know what it's trying to be, so or what it's meant to be. So I genuinely just come at it from a fresh pair of eyes perspective.
But if it's I don't think you need comic knowledge. I think if it was trying to be funny, it should be funny. If it's trying to be a bit out there, I don't think it knows what it wants to be, and it suffers from it. And I don't usually stop watching these, but I have stopped watching that. So yeah, right. So if that's everything, let's get on with our main feature, which this month the series up for dissection is My Brilliant Friend. So let's have a clip.
Tenevano pigiama celeste. Appena era avuta finestra, zac! Una coltellata. Come fai a sapere tutte queste cose? Raga lo sicchio e ti rifarei parole.
Right, okie dokie. So, Deborah, can you give us some facts?
Yes, quite short this time. So this is available on Prime or Sky, Sky Atlantic. It's an HBO series, first released in 2018. There are 4 seasons, or there's going to be a 4th season. They're in the middle of making it now. There are 8 episodes per season. It's basically an Italian Neapolitan language coming-of-age cinematic drama series created by Saverio Costanzo, which is based on the first 4 novels by Elena Ferranti. It stars Margherita Mazzucco, who plays Elena, also known as Lenu Greco, and Gaia Grace, who plays Raffaella Cerullo, also known as Leela. These are unknowns. basically, it's a tale of friendship that spans 60 years, starting at primary school in Naples in the 1950s.
Right, okie dokie. All right, so before we get into what we thought about it and our first thoughts, I've got a confession to make. So I made a false start with this. So for some reason, when I started watching it, my television just started me off on season 2, episode 1. But it didn't tell me this. So I thought it was a bit like Star Wars when it said episode 9.
Oh, dear.
And that
and you
happened in the past. So I watched the whole of that episode. And then thought, maybe I should just check on this, and then realised that I'd missed a whole season. So I went back to the start. All right, so Megan. No, Deborah.
No.
Why did you choose this?
No. I think
I just want to know why did you choose this for us?
Because I could talk for hours on this.
Okay, Megan, what did you think about it?
Right, I've got big notes here, so bear with me. I need to do my little arc on this one.
Yeah.
So I think I said last time that I'd tried watching the first 2 first 2 episodes. So I went back and I started again because I know Deborah loves it, and I found it slow, stilted. They walk everywhere so slowly. It was like they've got some funeral dirge going on in their heads, and then they just stand rigidly and deliver their lines. It's like watching a game of Sims. And it reminded hold your line. It reminded me of watching TV when we were kids. Like, it doesn't, all the characters didn't have all the Hollywood polish, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing by any stretch, but it did at times feel like it was a community acting project, and that nobody had acted before, which I know some of them hadn't, but surely some of them have. And I found the first 3 episodes absolutely mind-numbingly slow, and I genuinely would not have been able to continue if it weren't for this awesome podcast and the fact that Deborah loves it so much. And I genuinely I was watching it thinking, is James going to sack me if I rock up and I haven't watched the whole season? And then I got to episode 4, and episode 4 landed, and the New Year fireworks and all the drama that happened around that, and everything started heating up, and you could see the layering of the plot and the history and the rivalry of the characters. And then I was a little bit engrossed and charmed, and the story unfurled, and Lenu went off onto her island holiday and had all of that sort of awakening, and you see the story where their lives start to diverge, where she gets to stay at school, and you can just see the heartbreakingness of it, and their different situations, and that you can see their life paths, and I loved it.
And did you stop at season 1, or did you carry on?
Hold on. All right, so I'm gonna give you my take. I'm gonna give you my take on it as well.
Okay.
Because we're talking about this initial season first. We'll get on to that, Deborah.
All right.
But so I'm very much like Megan.
My goodness!
I watched the first episode and found it very hard to get into. I found it quite turgid. What I did like about the first episode was I really liked the 2 young girls. So the 2 young girls they had playing the parts. And I found it really disjointing, actually, when they suddenly replaced them. And I think they replaced them way too early for my liking. I'd have liked to have seen them a few more episodes, because they had their adult actors playing them way too young, in my opinion. However, well, it was like, there was supposed to be like 11, I think. And I think those 2 young girls could have played at least a couple more episodes. However, I think it was probably about episode 3 or 4, probably about the same time as Megan, that it started to gel together. I do think they were learning on the job, a lot of people. I think there was a lot of walking and stopping, and hold the camera, do your bit. And you can really see the progression, actually, as you go through the episodes. I think so. I certainly think it gets slicker as you get to season 3. However,
you've got to season 3.
I've got season 3, yeah, because once I kind of got into the role of it, once I got on the role of it with season 1, I'd also remember I'd already seen the first episode of season 2. I was on my way, and it has been more and more and more enjoyable. I thought, you know, the insight into like the Italian culture and what it was like in the 50s and 60s is quite interesting, to say the least.
Fascinating. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's like old age EastEnders in Italy sometimes. Right, so
that's very good analogy.
Yeah.
It's almost like you two have watched. You've watched it in a bad mood or something.
Well, I think it puts you in a bad mood. It's so depressing. It's so depressing.
It is.
You know, and it's like, oh my gosh.
But it's beautiful. I think
it's not beautiful.
It's not beautiful. I don't know where you go on holiday.
No. The whole point is that they live in a depressing neighbourhood.
I'm talking about the whole thing. It's cinematic. I think it's exquisitely acted. I think it's beautifully filmed. It's gripping. It's heartbreaking. It's completely underrated. There's like, I don't understand why there is not a bigger spotlight on it. It's like this complete...
Because the first 3 episodes will make you want to kill yourself.
Not when I look at the reviews and then I see that actually everybody loved it. When you look at, I don't know, The Guardian or, you know, whatever reviews that you're looking at online, they're all saying the same things. Like, why is there not a bigger spotlight on this? This is
they're the only ones who see it through to the whole thing and it can actually give a review on the whole season. Like, genuinely, I that was my second attempt to watch it, and I would not have watched it.
So when you watch that first episode with those 2 little girls, and you're seeing the violence that's happening to that guy that's getting beaten up in the street, and then you see Leela getting chucked out of the window by her father, you just thought that was just turgid and dull and not shocking and like, oh my God. No,
there's definitely shocking elements to it, but I found the pace of the throughout, and I do think it picks up, but or maybe I just acclimatized to it, I don't know, but the pace of it is so slow, and I can't imagine that the pace of life was that slow. It just, all the things that were supposedly happening, it felt like it was it felt very deliberate to just slow everything down, and but not in. I think we're all so used to quite fast-paced
and weird
programming.
It's like a proper.
Yeah, do you know what? For me as well. I mean, it's disappointing me slightly. I have to say that I've just heard that there's 6 books, because
4.
You said 4. There's 4 in total, spanning 60 years.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because I do think things could be a bit more compacted, really, to tell a better story. There are certain things in the life that are riveting and gripping, but some that do kind of meander through. And I suppose if you like that pace of TV, that's nice. But I think it could be done in half the time.
Well, I just have to completely disagree with you both.
Well,
I think the pace is so good because it allows you to A, read the subtitles, and then B, then look back at what's going on elsewhere and look at the beauty of it, the cinematicness of it. And
I'm sorry to disagree again, but actually the only thing that the pace is really quick at is the subtitles. I mean, I find myself having to read them really quickly. I mean, it's not... And I mean, I remember you said to me, you really need to concentrate, and gosh, you need to concentrate.
Yes.
You know, you cannot miss a second because lots and lots is said. Well, a lot's happening.
Well, you can't miss a second of when they're speaking, but then there's big pauses. So you can probably go and boil the kettle.
I mean, I think
like Lanu walking across the square. I mean, I'd be like, what? But
were you watching what was going on around her?
Have you got weights on your ankles or something, love?
But were you watching what was going on around her and the purpose? There's like vehicles for all sorts of things. It explores so many ideas, which I think
agree.
is really important. Like the politics is obviously, things like family and duty and shame and
I agree with all of that.
Competitiveness and the very complex nature of female relationships two women.
Yeah, and I loved all of that.
Yeah.
Once I got into it, but those first 3 episodes,
okay,
will kill off loads of potential viewers, and that's where you're saying, why isn't it bigger than it is? That is why, because
but then I suppose that's the same with Game of Thrones, because it took me till episode 6 before I got into it, and I kept throwing it away.
The advantage with Game of Thrones, as we know, is
dragons.
Each of those characters have quite major, interesting storylines, and they get their chance. We have a lot of characters in this, yeah. Some of them really shine. You know, I mean, for me, obviously, I love the teacher, but I love the mother. I love the mother. And she's such an interesting, complex character. You know.
Can I just ask Megan how far she's gone?
Right. So yes, I was just going to say I am watching season 2, but I have not. I think I may be episode 3 or 4 into season 2.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Do you know the other thing is, how long are the episodes?
About an hour.
They are long episodes.
Yeah.
You know, because usually we're used to like 42 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think they're 45 minutes with the ad, you know.
It seems the episodes seem long because it does take a while to get through them.
I love it. And I love the music, Max Richter's music.
I love the music. I think the music's really very nice.
And each season has a different intro with all the...
All right, let's just talk about the intros, because season 1 intro for me, I adored. You know, it was like looking through one of those old cine cameras, wasn't it? Really? Yeah. And you got a feeling of the characters, because this is the problem. There are a lot of families in this. Some of the characters are there and then they pass by the wayside. Some you don't see for ages and then they pop up and they're relevant again.
That's right, yes.
And I had a role that created some challenges for me, because it's not until you get to the end of season 1 that you're starting to piece together some of the histories of who did what and why.
Especially when they were little kids in the first episode, and then they become the sort of teenagers, young adults. You have to try and connect, and that's why watching it a second time, I was able to. And because because I watched it, well, the first time I watched it, there was quite a bit of time in between each season, right? Because I watched it as each season came out, so there was months and months and sometimes a year or whatever in between, and that's why I ended up watching it a second time, but this time with Laurie, so that I could see immediately, okay, make the connections which I didn't make before.
Yeah, very similar to Game of Thrones for me. When I watched that for the second time, suddenly lots of things fell into place on the rewatch.
Yeah, and it's it's very intellectual. Obviously, as we get further on through season 2, and her, she continues to study, we suddenly get into the world of communism, but also the kind of world of higher education, really.
Yeah,
and it does have a risk of kind of like enveloping it, really. And because of the nature of it being
real events, real political events,
the nature of it being a true story, it doesn't get it doesn't get the satisfaction, I suppose, of giving you the payoff of some of those story beats. So I was never quite sure. I know they hated that guy, who brought the TV over, who we wanted to marry, Leah.
Yeah, Marcello Solari.
Yeah. Now he's a Solarian. They hate the Solaris. I get that, but. I wasn't quite sure why she married the other one, really. I mean,
Stefano.
I'm not really quite sure why she's done anything.
Because the Solaris were basically taking over and were owning everyone. And she is so ferociously independent. She is unconquerable. She doesn't want to be conquered. And so she has a massive vendetta against the Solaris. She also believes that the Solaris murdered Don Achilles.
Yeah, yeah.
Faceless sort of spectre when they went and got back their dolls. So she thinks that they're wrong-uns and that they're taking over, and that that they're putting all this pressure on the neighbourhood to be owned by them, and that's why she hates them so much, because she wants their independence, and she thinks sticking it to them would be marrying Stefano, who is like the rival, businessman, if you like,
and who she genuinely believes is different.
But
initially,
it changes when they
and then she realizes that he's exactly the same.
Yeah,
and actually, subservient to them. So I thought that was really
he sells
clever.
His soul to them.
Yeah, and I think it's really clever that the the slow revelation and the unpeeling and the how you see that it's kind of like a slow motion car crash. You're just waiting for it to happen, and it's really devastating watching such an intelligent, fiery, rebellious woman being contained by 1950s
social norms and things,
social and economic controls that render her with very, very little power. And so the way in which she executes that power is just, you know, it's small explosions of
explosive,
what she thinks she can control. And it's just, you know, when you watch the two arcs of Lenu and Leela and how that education and that opening up, the point I've got to in season 2 at the moment is that Leela's just gone to that party, with Lenu at the teacher's house, and they obviously were talking politics, and it dawned on. That's where it dawns on her that they're in different spheres now, and so the way that she then gets control of that is by completely turning on Lenu and being absolutely
you're
awful.
So pretentious, and you're so and this is so wanky, this is
and I was fascinated by the crew or whatever she's saying. And I don't know what the equivalent would be as like, oh, la-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da. I don't know.
It's like, because she was comparing them to roosters, like going around. Rah, rah, rah.
And there was a bit of that. I mean, gosh, and there was some really.
And yet she goes off and studies. She goes and gets that. She then becomes learned, doesn't she? And then starts
I haven't seen past that point, so
she starts to get to, with Pasquale and, you know, her friend, the socialists. She wants to learn from them.
I don't think she's. I think she's just
I'm not
around
there.
that area.
Okay.
All right. So should we do the big 5? I forgot. Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Well, we can do. Go on, Deborah. What else would you like to say?
I just think it's incredible. I think there's so much to learn, and I think especially from a man's perspective, there's a lot to learn from it in terms of what girls and women go through, because there are still a lot of I hope in all various spheres and lives that we lead now, we don't, you know, we're not experiencing quite as drastic the misogyny and so on that's, you know, that they had, and they, but you know that all the other things are relevant, you know.
Look, I have to say as well, you've reminded me,
you know, and the way that girls are treated, and you see this now, you know, amongst teenagers, you see that kind of gang culture and girls being assaulted and raped even, you know, or
well, look, you reminded me. I have to be honest. I found those sort of things, certainly with the problems that Leela was having with her husband, really uncomfortable to watch. Really uncomfortable. I didn't like watching it at all. To the point that sometimes I would stop watching for a bit. I found the whole dynamic of that really uncomfortable. It's a tough thing, and you know, also, you know, there was a really seedy, sinister side to the sex with, you know, like with that guy's brother when she was having that lovely time on holiday, and then that father came and, you know, oh, it's horrible.
Donato Sartori, and that was shocking, right? Because he came across as, at last, there is a male figure who, might have had this romance with the crazy lady upstairs. And nobody believes her because she's the crazy lady. They've got him moved out as a family, and he seems to be, you know, right on. He writes. He's intelligent. Nino, she's in love with Nino, and then and she seems to be getting on with the family really well. And it's her 15th birthday, and then that shocking event happened.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me,
I could just see her world collapse, just the way she just lay there, letting it happen.
The thing with that though was, and with a lot of the violent scenes of sexual nature, is 70 years later, I could still see that being exactly the response to a girl of her position being put under that and not knowing how to manage it or get herself out of it or speak up, and being absolutely paralyzed.
Yes, it's so relevant
by that situation, and that would happen today. And that, I think, you know, I completely understand, James, why you found that so distressing, but I was watching it going, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. That men still have that sort of power over women, and in maybe some areas it is improving, but it's definitely not. You know, wonderful. It resonates today, 70 years later.
All right. So come on, let's do the big five. So performance of the series. I'll kick it off. I'm going to go for, and I'm torn. I was going to say Leela, but I am going to say Lenu's mother. I just think she's wonderful, and she's a gift that keeps on giving, because she's so harsh in series 1. And then there's just these moments of clarity and love when she wants to go to school, or, you know, when she gets sick and she brings her soup.
Oh my God.
Someone would bring me soup when I'm sick.
She was so, you know, those moments of tenderness just make you want to cry, because she is such a strict. But she knows it, right? Lenu knows it. She knows her mother well, that her mother just has a go at her all the time, always putting her down, always saying that, you know, trying to undermine her intelligence and so on. And yet she knows deep down she's completely proud. And
so, Megan, what's your performance in the series?
So I did, obviously, out of their community acting workshops. I would put it down to the young Lenu and Leela.
Right. So which one?
The young Lenu and Leela, the children.
Oh yeah, they were brilliant. Why you should have seen more of them.
I put her down. So her name is Ludovica Nasti. Nasti. That's the young Leela. I put her down as a performance of the series, even though I think they're all amazing. But she actually, I think she won an award for a little breakthrough performance. That girl.
All right, come on then, Deborah. What's your performance in the series?
That one. I just said Ludovica.
So both of you said that one.
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. Set piece of the series.
I think the 15th birthday party for me. The Donato Serratori sexually assaulting her on
birthday party. I'm gonna say when she went to the beach, because I really like those bits. It's really nice.
And I would say the fireworks scene.
Yeah,
because that was a real turning point for me about the whole series.
Okay, the design and the effects of the series. I am going to say I want to give a shout out to the titles. I just think they. My favourites were season. What are you doing, Megan?
All right. There's some noises outside. I have to investigate. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So if something happens and the podcast goes silent now, you know, be worried for all of us. It sounded like people were
breaking into my house.
Oh, don't say that. Anyway, I think Megan's okay. All right, so I'm going to say the titles. Certainly season 1 titles, and I'd like to see those continue, really. But titles and music was lovely for me. Deborah, what about you?
Yeah, I just think the whole thing looked beautiful. I think I just think it all looked beautiful. I mean, I know that we're not. I know season 3 is the 70s. Oh my God, it's just stunning. But just even in season 1, you just go into the bookshop or go into the shoe shop. Everything is just beautiful. The whole thing.
Lovely.
So the thing that I found really fascinating was the way they managed to get Lenu from pasty, spotty, pimply to super healthy when she went to the island. I just love that. I found that really charming and clever.
The tan and love it.
All right. Okay. Stupid factor.
There isn't really, is there?
Well, there isn't for you.
The slow walking really upset me.
Sometimes some of the stop, talk, pace, some of the early
It was not wooden.
All right. So,
can I just
yeah.
give a shout out to some of the faces? I think some of the faces are absolutely fascinating faces. Marcello's brother, Migueli Solari, who, as you know, James, has a much bigger story as he goes along, and he's completely obsessed with it. His face is just incredible, proper gangster looking face. And
this is what I was saying earlier.
But his wife, sorry,
they don't have the Hollywood shine. So much TV, and not just Hollywood TV, but so much
character.
Even in the UK, it's all about the pretty girls and the good-looking boys, and that's not the case. And they're not all stick insects, and they're not all the blokes aren't all buff. They're short, and they're unusual.
That's wonderful, just so wonderfully cast. And also, the girl that plays Migueli's wife in season 3, but her friend Gigliola, I can't say it. One of her old school friends that gets in the back of the car with Migueli, and then they end up being together, right? Gigliola, I can't say her name. Do you know the one I mean?
Yeah.
The face of a complete sourpuss. Constantly sourpuss.
That old trope. So we're going to zoom through these tropes because we've been talking quite a while. So in this series, is there a pregnancy?
Not in this series, no.
Is there a murder?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there self-sacrifice?
Yes.
Or back again? Not really. They don't have anything in the first
You cut
place.
out then, sorry. What did you say?
Losing everything, then getting it all back.
No,
well, they don't really have anything.
Not really, apart from the 2 dolls.
Yeah. A love triangle. Well,
kind of.
A few kind of going on.
Stefano, Marcello, yeah.
Flashback.
And actually, is it Gino? She started going out with Gino.
It's hard to remember all the different characters.
The really twatty boy at school that she showed her boobies to.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I don't really fancy him, but I fancy Nina. Is that a love triangle? It's not really love triangle.
All right. Flashbacks. Well, no, it's kind of linear.
The whole thing's a flipping flashback.
Yeah, but it's linear because you can't call it a flashback because everything's historic as soon as you start it. Is it all just a dream? No. A secret that could tear everything apart.
Possibly, yes.
All right, we'll give it that one.
Because, Leela saw something going on with the Don Achilles murder.
An unlikely or forced friendship. Well, I think the unlikely friendship is at the heart of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And does Machina, which is no, it's not a quick reset. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not really. I'm going to say it's got half the tropes, so not really.
No, you did mention something there which I forgot to mention. Well, you alluded to it.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I really struggle with on TV programs is where you have to move the plot or explain what's going on with a voiceover.
Yes, me too.
It's kind of like, is that really like? Could you not bring that to life? And I think part of the problem is that the books are probably so literary that it's actually very difficult to bring that to life, and that for me is part of why it's so slow, and there's to begin with there's not that much
I agree
talk.
Will
you continue to watch it? Will you promise me that you'll continue to watch it?
I will continue to watch it.
You can't make her make those promises. She's done what she said she will do, and we need to move on.
It has enchanted me now, so I will continue watching it, but just probably a bit slower so that I can,
Yeah. All right, so let's score it, please. So, characterization and performances. Deborah.
10.
Megan.
I'm really sorry. I'm just trying to look for my scores.
Okay. Well,
characters and performances.
Yeah.
Not plot line and storylines.
I've got that, but it's not yet.
Oh,
that's
7.
usually number 1, but yeah.
Well, things change. And characterization performances for me is 7. But style, Megan.
7.
Look, at style is 10.
8 from me, and Deborah gives it a
10.
All right.
And it gets even more amazing.
Storyline and plot for me is a 7.
It's a 10.
Deborah's 6. A 10 and a 6 from Megan. Originality.
10.
8.
We're doing exactly the same, I think. Okay. Absorption factor.
10.
4.
7.
Right. Okay.
The second half of season 1 really clawed that back because that would have been a 1 for the first 3 episodes.
Okay, so I give it a 68.
I give it 70.
100.
My gosh, 100.
Yes, full marks from me.
So you can never watch anything any better. What did you give it, Megan? Sorry.
It is one of the most
70.
beautiful things I've ever watched. Listen, guys, whoever is listening to this podcast, don't listen to these two.
Oh.
Please listen to us.
Listen to me.
Please listen
you don't need to follow our advice, but you should listen because otherwise it's going to be a very disruptive podcast experience.
Right. Okay, so that means it gets a score of 79.33.
So it's high up.
So, well, it is now because we gave it 100.
Of course.
I mean...
Right, so it puts it in 4th place. Just below, Kevin could go F himself and just above Mayor of Easttown. You have warped those scores a little bit.
What? We'll say that again. Where is it? Where does it?
It's in 4th place, just below Kevin could go F himself and just above Mayor of Easttown.
I thought Mayor of Easttown was better than Kevin Can Go and F himself.
I know, but it's not all
I
about you,
didn't,
is it?
and I wouldn't have given this one 100.
No.
Those are the rules of averages.
No, I thought the score was the other way round.
I don't understand. This is not what I saw. All right. Okay, so Megan, you can't go any higher than that, ever. You know that, right? Megan, it's your choice. So what is your choice?
It is my choice. Now,
have you got some
I never
clues
got a
for us?
response back. I never got a response back from Deborah on this one.
Oh, how rude!
Oh, what did I do? Oh, I have to
just go for it. I'm sure
Apple TV.
If not, we'll crowdfund for her Apple TV.
Yeah, we'll chip in on a giving page or something.
Yeah.
Right. So this is an Apple TV series.
Yes.
Got to do clues, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yep.
It is directed by Ben Stiller.
Oh.
Oh. Yes. Have you seen it already?
Oh my God, yes. It would totally have been my
give us another
edge.
clue.
It has I'm trying to think of a clue here. So it's got Patricia Arquette, Christopher Walken in it.
I'll tell you what, just tell us because we don't know.
Yeah.
Severance.
Okay.
So I've heard about this and I've heard it's very good. In fact,
it's an
it may have been from you, Megan.
Sorry?
I'm just saying I've heard this is very good, but I'm thinking it may have been from you.
No, I've not mentioned it.
Oh,
I've
right,
not mentioned
okay.
it at all.
Oh.
No. So it's an idiosyncratic, intelligent comedy drama where workers' brains are separated into work and home halves.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
I absolutely blew. Well, it blew.
And he created it, didn't he? He actually.
He may well have done, but all I know is he directed it, so I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, it's so good. And if you're going to have to subscribe to Apple TV, and let me just say right now, you are welcome, because once you've done that, you will then want to see The Morning Show and Ted Lasso at an absolute minimum.
Ted Lasso,
oh my God, I haven't got time for this television.
It won an Emmy, didn't it?
It's won loads. It's won loads. It's 2 seasons in. Watch Ted Lasso and then watch the Wrexham Football Club where Ryan Reynolds buys it. There's going to be some similarities for sure.
All right. So I think that's the end of the show.
How much is Apple TV?
I think it's about $4.99 a month.
And is it my first month free? Is it?
Oh, for God's sake, Deborah. Right. So that's the end of the show. We're going to call it.
Come back for House of Dragon.
That was episode number 15. Time of death, 8:17 p.m. And that was the TV Autopsy. Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.
The dream. It was clearer than a memory. When I heard the sound of thundering hooves, splintering shields and ringing swords, and I placed my heir upon the Iron Throne, and all the dragons roared as one.
All right, House of the Dragon.
Yes.
Okay, now, because I was watching a lot of My Brilliant Friend, I've only watched 3 episodes of House of the Dragon.
I've only watched 2.5 episodes.
Oh,
Right.
I've watched all 5.
Right, okay. So should we just do a bit of an introduction for it, from what we thought, what our expectations were, where we went, did they meet them? Now, for me, I knew it was going to be a smaller show, and I knew it was going to be a bit more. It's hard to recreate any sort of magic from something that's been so successful, but it's not gripped me at all as much as Game of Thrones, I have to say. I think the range of characters is so limited. I think they've really struggled to recreate some of the high points of Game of Thrones, and it's not giving me anything that I haven't seen before, really. So I'm not like clamoring for the next episode, which is why I really I've let it slide a little bit. And so it's so for me, enjoyable, but I can't see it going past 2 or 3 series. What do you think?
Well,
prediction.
It's where Game of Thrones had to set the scene and figure itself out, because that's what the book did, and that's what the filming it did, and it took me 6 episodes before I started to just get into it, or at least relent and watch it. You don't have the same need for House of the Dragon. It's straight in, I think, with the violence, with the this and that, and you don't need the scene set. You know that world, you understand that world, and you understand the way that it works, even if it is 200 years previously. I kind of agree that it feels much smaller. I think Paddy Considine is probably not best cast for that role.
Oh, I just think League of Gentlemen every time I see him.
Which role?
Well, any role. Just like he's kind of, if you
but
look
in House of Dragon, who's he playing?
Oh, he plays the king. And it's like,
okay.
You look at him and I just think, God, if you look at it through the eyes of, some kind of daft comedy, you just can't take it seriously.
Yeah, I don't, but episode 5, that was good.
Oh, well.
You've got to get there. It starts to get, it's always difficult the first couple of episodes, because there's always a big cast when it comes to these kind of things.
Setting the scene.
Amazon's got the whole Lord of the Rings thing going on. There's going to be a cast of thousands that we'll all get to know. It needs to just, figure out what the storyline is so that you can follow it. But I think I'm going to stick with it, and I think you'll probably be wrong, James. I think it'll be like Game of Thrones was, where it turned a lot of people off in the first few episodes before everyone decided, no.
I think it will continue. I think it will probably last more series. However, I think if it turns people off, people won't come back to it, because it's not like the other way around. This is something that people know about. They're coming.
But I still think if you've got a few people that make it through to, if Deborah's there saying season episode 5 is, that will draw people back in. For me, are definitely missing the scale, as you said. The thing with Game of Thrones was it had a lot of really likable characters very quickly, as well as some pretty awful ones. So the Stark kids, you were kind of pretty invested in them really quite quickly. Episode 1, you see Ned Stark punishing the Watch runaway, escaping. No, whatever the word is. In front of the kids, and you build up this sympathy. And Daenerys Targaryen, I used to watch it, going, right, come on, bring on the dragons, come on.
Yes, exactly. There was a real hook there. Absolutely.
And because it had such scale, it could kind of like cut away from. It could quickly immerse you in one space and cut away, so you were left wanting a bit more. That's missing.
Yes, right. We're still.
Can I say as well, just to echo what you said, Megan? I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Where what you had in Game of Thrones, and they did it in the credits, when they don't do it, it doesn't work here. You've got the houses, so you've got the House of the Dragon, you've got the House of Tyrion of the money. You have got the opulence and wealth. You've got the house of the dogs and the wolves, and so each of those storylines have got something really good going on to it in it. So if you want the opulence and the treachery of the rich, you've got the Tyrions. You've got the Lancasters, sorry.
Lannisters,
Lannisters, sorry. And if you want to see the exotic and the mystical and the weird, you go over to look at the Targaryens and the dragons. Or if you want the earthy goodness, you're back with the Starks. Whereas with this, you're just stuck with like one.
But it is the House of the Dragon, though.
It is.
Yeah, and that, I think we need to see that unfold a bit more. And I just haven't. I've kind of almost wanted to store up a few episodes. I watched the first two when they dropped, and then I thought, actually, I think you need to get a little bit of momentum, get 2 or 3 in one go under your belt, to really get stuck in on that. So I'm kind of holding back until there's a little run of 3 or 4 that I could just watch one cold, windy afternoon.
I think that makes sense, because you're right, because otherwise it does make you... Whereas the latter seasons where they were dropping once a week, that gave us time to digest, because so much would go on and talk about it and process it.
We haven't got anything to process
at the beginning of this.
Yeah,
there's nothing to process. It's just let's get some out of the way, and then we're on the road.
Yeah. I mean, I love a dragon. So we've got some of those in there straight away. I loved.
It's nice to see the height of the dragons. That is good fun.
See them already in operation and how they get deployed, and see some of the diplomacy and political maneuverings kicking in with when she went to her uncle to like reclaim the dragon egg and things like that. So I think it's gonna I think it will end up, it's not trying to be another Game of Thrones, so it has to anchor itself on some different themes and bring some different things to life. So that it's going to be a much small, whereas it was entire nations and houses and all of that sort of stuff before in Game of Thrones. This is Game of Throne.
Game of Thrones. That's right, and I think. But all the themes are exactly the same. It's all about sex, politics.
Just at a much smaller. It's in a more contained level.
And I think what it also misses, and I think we could see it. I don't know if there's been hints. I keep thinking there might be a hint here or there, but I might be reading into it. But the peril, which was the menace that was the White Walkers, right? Because that was from the very, very beginning of Game of Thrones. That was the opening gambit, opening 5 minutes, which was the White Walkers.
There's some seriously weird shit going on
coming up north, and winter was coming. But we've not had any of that, and that was that's what made it. That's what gave it this supernatural kind of thing.
Well, you've got that and the dragons, but again, it's so many layers. So, I'll be interested to talk to you both in a month's time to see if our opinions have changed somewhat in regards to our House of the Dragon. Right, well, look, I'm going to go because my dog wants to go out. Deborah needs to say goodnight to her children, and Megan needs to go and find out what that spooky thing is.
I do need to go and kick some ass outside. Can you please stop them breaking in?
Please message us just to make sure that, and make sure you're safe.
Okay.
All right.
Stay safe.
Anyone got a catchphrase for Game of Dragons? Is it time to ban
Game of Dragons?
Ban this
That's
stuff?
the catchphrase.
All right.
Game of Dragons.
See you later, guys.
See you later.
See ya.